Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
If you're the type to read into patterns, today we are set for a new winner this season. Holly won the first two, followed by Rodriguez in rounds 3 and 4. Then Acosta drove home for back-to-back checkered flags. Will Watkins Glen give us winner number 4? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 7 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen has been a road course on the NASCAR schedule for decades now. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, Chris, the trucks have returned home to one of NASCAR's favorite road courses, but what are they going to drive like here in this modern incarnation?
Well, this is a fun little road course that has a little bit of everything. Once they start off the lap, it's going to be a mad dash down to that first turn where it's a heavy braking point and also a great passing opportunity. But leading out of that, they head up into the S's, Joe, and that is a challenging part of the track. But what is really going to be a great passing opportunity is those drivers head into the bus stop over off of the back straightaway. It's a great opportunity to outbrake your opponents and get a little bit of an advantage. And there's a little bit of room in a runoff area so you can get your elbows out a little bit. So this will be probably a little bit physical, a little bit technical, throws a little bit of everything at you.
Just a little bit of it. But in the meantime, before we get to the racing, let's talk about our sponsors, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation MotorSports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. As we take a look at the championship here, for the drivers, the top three in points are the three that have won so far: Holly, Acosta, and Rodriguez. Conker still looking for a victory in this series, is followed by Thomas Sink. Both of them have been quick this season. I would not put it past either of them to potentially take a victory today. Let's take a look, though, at the team standings here, Chris.
That's right. Off of a couple strong performances from Abner Acosta, private label Team Hype is right there within striking distance of the Whataback Overdrive Racing team. A little bit further back is the Pure Sims Esports, represented in that top 5 as well. Then Whataback Back Row Racing just a few points behind Pure Sims, and then Whataback Next Level Racing just 8 points back from there. So a very tight championship race that we have for our team side.
Certainly is. Now, if we look for today's events race details, they have 37 laps that they're going to be running here. So a number of times going around this course, but it doesn't take too long to circulate. Now, they have no spare truck if they get damaged, which is easy to do because the barriers are quite close to the edge of the track. It is a fixed setup, though, so they don't need to worry about trying to find a good road setup for this vehicle. And in the meantime, 24 incident limit will keep them honest. Could be especially perilous coming out of the 90, that first corner, and then through the inner loop where it's so close on where the limit is in these trucks. Now, right now, we're in the midst of the warm-up, and Abner Acosta is our quickest driver, with Rodriguez behind him and Holly sitting in fourth. So could we get our first 3-time winner this season amongst them? Or I'm looking at some of the other names that have been quick so far today. Blackhall's looking good. Josh Conker, as I mentioned, is still seeking that win. Sink is there in 7th. And let's not count out 6th place Doug Evans, who said in the coming week in the forums that he was feeling pretty confident.
And not to mention, I mean, though we've raced on a variety of tracks, this track is a bit of a wild card. It's got so many elements of so many different types of racing, And also, given the fact that the road racing prowess in this series has really stepped up its game in the last few seasons, there is just a slew of potential winners we can see here today.
Absolutely. Well, you have to consider that we have seen a few of those oval drivers over on the road series as well lately. They've been cross-pollinating. It's gone both ways as well, because we kept making such a big deal of Abner Acosta coming over from the sports cars to racing in stock cars here. But Patrick Cowgill, Holly has been coming over and racing in the road cars. Baron Hilton has as well. So we'll keep an eye on a few of those guys, see if they picked up some tricks, and could be maybe pulling a fast one on a few of their peers.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, you have those quote-unquote road course ringers that we've talked about in real world and iRacing for a while now, but really it's gotten to the point where in both elements, a lot of drivers are pretty much Swiss Army knives as far as the different types of racing they can do.
I'm sure that's going to serve them well, honestly, as they continue their racing careers. Better to be versatile like that and be able to fit in wherever you have the opportunity to get behind the wheel. 30 more seconds left in our warm-up session, and then we'll be heading over to that qualifying session. It is a pretty hot track today, though. It's 110 Fahrenheit on the track surface, which makes me think, Chris, that preserving those tires is going to be a big talking point, even though there's not a whole lot of corners around here.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And like you mentioned, there's not a lot of corners, but there is a few pretty high braking points at this track. And really easy to outbrake yourself and maybe flat spot a tire. So these guys are going to have to be on their A game if they want to make them last.
Certainly. And we do expect a pit stop throughout the race, at least one stop in that they'll have to take for fuel. But most likely you can expect them to take tires while they're at it, just because I don't think anybody is willing to try and risk it on a single set. It looks like, who's our first one out here? I see Zemke and Conquer both exiting pit lane and getting ready to head up the S's. So we should be having some fun times here as we watch them try to wheel these things as quick as possible, pushing them to their limit. Don't have to worry about the tires here, with only 2 laps that they'll get to set their quickest time. And who has figured out exactly how far they can go?
I don't think we'll see as much of a delay for the drivers getting out there to make their qualifying attempt, given that it is over probably over a minute and a half out lap here.
Yeah, that's a fair point. They only get 5 minutes, so you do have to get out pretty much almost as soon as it opens up. So 3 minutes for each, and then add another 15 seconds per, let's say, and there is 3 minutes and 45 seconds right there out of your 5 minutes allotted. So, and this is solo qualifying, so that's the good news. They don't have to try and find space in that. They can just get out there and try to set a time as we watch one of our drivers come through the final couple corners. I think Conquer is going to be our first to set a time. No, Adam Zemke, it looks like, actually in the 57 is going to be our first driver to be able to set a time, as long as he keeps it clean.
And that's sometimes that's easier said than done around here. Like you mentioned, Joe, you can see the Armco barriers right at the edge of the track. Just one little slip, and it's not hard to end up scraping against one and invalidating your lap.
Not only that, but going a little too far, clipping the grass and considering it an off course, which will invalidate the lap as well. That looked good for the 57 down through the inner loop, now switching around through the carousel. And our road fans will probably wonder, where's the boot? And it is not a part of this layout. This is the Cup version, which goes through that little shortcut and down to the penultimate turn.
Really would like to see NASCAR run the boot someday.
I've heard that they've flirted with the idea recently. We'll see if they actually do that. They've made so many changes, I would not put it past them. So out and through the last corner, Adam Zemke looks to cross the timing line. It's a 15.3. Everybody now sizes up if they can challenge that. Conker will. He goes down to a 14.4 on his first lap.
That's a pretty solid lap from Conker so far. Doug Evans slots in about 7/10 down from Conker.
Sumner, one of the drivers I mentioned having been moonlighting over in the GT4 series, has just put in a 1:16 flat. That's good enough for fourth for the time being, but we still need a lot of drivers to get in there. Kalen's one of them. Ooh, and Kalen looking very good at a 15.1. That'll put him on the front row for now.
That's a pretty sporty lap.
Absolutely is. So he's clearly picked up some tricks from his time over on the twisty circuits. And we're watching Dalton Geyer and Jake Blackhall coming through. Blackhall was very fast in the warm-up, but it looks like he hasn't set a time yet. Bradley Holly's just coming to the line now, and he was actually in contention for a win earlier this week in the GT4s. A 14.774 is good enough for fourth, so second row for our multi-time champion.
So Conker coming down for his second lap, Joe. Looks like he'll slide into the top three. So pretty good lap from the 54.
Yeah, and actually Acosta and Rodriguez are the ones that have gone faster than him. Acosta on the provisional pole, not too great of a shocker, since he really has been kind of the focus of the road transition driver. Saw Sumner having some fun at the end of his qualifying, sending it down to the barriers. This is Momi in 14th, and the second lap, sadly, will not be quicker for him. Then you've got Hunter across the line, also doesn't find a better time. Abner Acosta up next, a 14.092, just shy of a 14 flat. Can he go quicker? Yes, a 13.9.
Wow, that is flying.
And Rodriguez gets it down to a 14.1, but stays in second. Still, he's more than 0.2 of a second off. Looks like Holly has abandoned his lap, and actually qualifying is now over. So let's go through that starting order here today. Abner Acosta on the pole. Esteban Rodriguez will be starting from second, with Josh Conker from third. Then it's Jake Blackhall in P4. Doug Evans will be fifth. Bradley Holly got pushed down to sixth without that second lap to improve. Thomas Sink starts from seventh. Then it's Daniel Knight in P8 and Kalen in ninth. Adam Zemke will round out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is John LaBaff with Charles Sumner to his elbow. Clayton Curry in row 7 with Austin Hunter outside of him. Baron Hilton will start 15th, followed by Danik Momi. Then Josh Bittner and Nicholas Hunter make up row number 9, with Dalton Geyer and Elliott White in the 10th row.
From here on down, it's all drivers that didn't qualify. Cervantes, Lane, Young, Cowgill, Curtis Young, as well as Adam Young, Jim Westerfield, Stacy Hunter, Doyle Lawrence, Ryan Traver, Eric Hauk, Thomas Roberts, Adam Shane, and C.M. Pennington. You might be thinking, why are so many drivers failing to qualify? Well, some of them were not allowed, actually. Patrick Cowgill, Danny Cervantes, Ryan Traver, Colton Lane, Curtis Young, Daniel Ferguson, Stacy Hunter, Mike Richter, David Mayberry, and C.M. Pennington were all given EOL penalties for today's race. Some of them carried over from the previous race. In fact, a good chunk of them did. So it wasn't that we had too many that got penalties last round at iRacing Super Speedway, or excuse me, at Phoenix, rather. It was just simply that we had a lot of them kind of building up over the last couple of races. Let's go to our onboards for today, as we've got two of them with us. Patrick Cowgill going to be our first one as we look over his shoulder once again, giving us a view from the 24th starting position out there. He's got some work to do. And then, as usual, Bradley Holly with that lucky shirt. We had some debate behind the scenes, wondering whether or not he actually washes it, or if that one stays and collects the odors, if you will, over the course of a season, as we now start to take off behind the pace car.
Well, with as many races as he does a week, I hope he washes it every now and then.
You would think so. I mean, if it's like my racing room, it does get pretty warm with both the body heat and just the computer warming things up, even with the AC on. So I certainly would like him, and I'm sure if he has any roommates or a partner that he lives with him, that they're probably hoping that he also washes that shirt from time to time. We're already up through the S's here. I'm hoping that many of the drivers have been practicing the run through here, Chris, because this is incredibly narrow. It's almost like a street course through this portion.
Yeah, the best way to describe it, I guess, would be claustrophobic. It just seems like everything closes in on you driving through there. And I can remember the first laps I turned here after, playing all the NASCAR PlayStation games growing up. I thought I'd have it down. And first time I go in there, I felt like the walls closed in on me, and I ended up ping-ponging between the two for a good chunk of the lap. So definitely a part where you're going to want to be heads up.
Got to think that ping pong probably would be the safer sport to go for if you can't handle trying to race through there. See them all kind of weaving through the inner loop chicane, added back in the early 90s before they come back around out of the outer loop. And we are almost done with this relatively short pace lap already. This is a track that has seen so many different series over the year. Formula One used to be here for many, many years. We've had IndyCar back in recent times. And of course, let's not forget the 6 hours of the Glen, a tradition for sports car racers. But NASCAR has come to rule the roost a lot in the past few decades. The trucks now returning in the real world as we celebrate that in the virtual world here in round 7 of the Precision Racing League. And Barney is going to set them off and away as he gets ready the green flag. Porsche pace car pulls off, gives control over to Acosta. Green flag waves, and it's not the best start. He is pretty much even with Rodriguez as they accelerate down the hill. Conquer taking a look down to the inside as well. They are Noah's Ark 2x2 all the way back through the field, and even with that, it's looking fairly clean.
Yeah, that's a corner where you can see a lot of disaster happen, so great to see everybody get through there in one piece.
That was an impressive start with nobody getting single file down in there, but look at this. Up through the S's, that's Conquer in the 54, side by side with Rodriguez. And I think it's going to be Josh to be able to peel that second place away from him by the time they hit the inner loop. Gets a little bit of a bump into the corner. Oh, but it does unsettle him, excuse me, as Rodriguez will take it right back.
Yeah, Conquer had the position going in, but definitely took it back as they came off the loop.
Looks like a few cars are off in the inner loop. Bittner, White, and I think Geyer as well, unfortunately found themselves off the track there. So we'll try and investigate that a little bit later. That little fight between Rodriguez and Conquer means that Acosta has a handy 1 second gap at the end of the first lap, but Rodriguez is back on it and is pulling away from Conquer, who leads a train.
Yeah, everybody getting single file through this part of the track fairly early, but good to see everybody racing hard still in the early runnings of this race. We have somebody going wide there at the first turn, but that's kind of a product of the track. When you're racing this close together early on, Joe, one thing that can happen is sometimes you get so focused on watching the trucks around you, you forget your braking points. And we'll see that a lot down near the bus stop, too, when people blow through that turn. But it's definitely something to be aware of here in the early laps.
Yeah, that was Kalen in the 62 that missed the corner. Didn't hit anybody, thankfully. Just, like you said, kind of lost control under braking. As we look at Bradley Holly, currently running in the 5th position. Came kind of close, honestly, to taking the win at the Charlotte Roval in those GT4 cars on Monday evening. But it was not meant to be. Sends it down into the penultimate corner, just behind Jake Blackhall, hailing from the Australia-New Zealand club. Wonder if he's had experience here in the Australian supercars, as they tend to be sort of the Australian comparison to NASCAR a lot of times.
You know, we mentioned Bradley in the sports car series. for the longest time, he was probably the tops as far as road course racers went in this series before we saw people like Acosta and Rodriguez come over. So Bradley Holly, definitely no slouch on the twisty tracks.
Absolutely. So that's partly why I wasn't too shocked to see him be that competitive. And there was a little bit of a look from Blackhall on Conquer, but decided against it as these three snake their way through the double chicane, the bus stop style chicane, and back out through the carousel, dropping at elevation, you can see, with quite a bit of banking. Then it straightens itself out onto the run down to the penultimate corner. Great exit by Conquer to keep him out of reach from the 97.
And Jake Blackhall showing a lot of proficiency on the road courses as well. He was really fast in practice and obviously did pretty well in qualifying to be up where he's at now. So I'm interested to see how Jake can really show what he can do on these road courses.
Yeah, Jake's actually got a 3,900 iRating, which is pretty handy on the roadside. As we look a little bit behind them down to 6, where this is Doug Evans with Knight breathing down his neck, and Thomas Sink, one of our top 5 in the points right now, currently running outside of the top 5 on the track. They head up through the S's, and doesn't look like any of them are close enough for an attack.
No, they're all pretty much just watching for mistakes around them to try to capitalize.
Ooh, great closing in, though, by Knight on Doug Evans there. Under braking into the inner loop, we hop on board, looking back from the rear bumper of Doug, as Daniel Knight just chases him off the corner, trying to keep from running it off into the grass and keep the wheels from spinning up. Braking once again, not as much ground gain this time, but still, look at him stick that nose right into our camera.
Yeah, Daniel Knight doing a great job on corner entry.
That could certainly help him, and the corner exit for Evans didn't look good. And that could come back to haunt him later if he keeps that up. A poke to the inside from Sink, but a defensive move from Daniel Knight makes him cautious, and he backs out of it. Yeah, I kind of wonder if these trucks, if the drivers are going to have to pay attention to how much they get that wheel spin out of corners, just to make sure that they don't cook those rear tires over the course of the race.
Yeah, it's not that hard to light up the tires in these trucks either. Especially through some of the lower speed corners. You get on it a little bit too hard and you'll spin those rears like it's nobody's business, and that's going to eat away at your grip.
Certainly, and it'll be hard to come into the pits. Whoa, big moment there as we were riding on board with Knight, but he kept it together. Thought that thing was going around the way he was sawing back and forth, and there's another little correction coming off of the outer loop. So the 17 seems to be struggling. Speaking of struggling, a few of our drivers, including Geyer, had some problems on the very first lap. So let's take a look and see what caused them to go off track.
Of course, this is one of the more challenging parts of the track when the field's all bunched up like that.
Looks like Geyer hits the 84, spins across, and poor Elliott White just gets tipped around. I think another one that went off course and had to come back on, slowed up, is Nick Hunter. Oh no, actually Nick Hunter blew his engine, so he's effectively done for today. No, he's gotten back out there. Somehow was able to repair the engine, replace whatever was causing him woes, and Hunter's running a lap down.
Well, it's just a difference of philosophy there. It looked like a lot of guys getting on the brakes at different times and causing the incident, but Nicholas Hunter, his crew must have swapped something out in record time.
Maybe just there was the propane on the car smoking a little bit there for a moment. As, he's changed up his sponsor in recent races after we had a discussion behind the scenes, and he's certainly having fun with that. Taking a look once again at the fight for third. This is Conquer and the car in front of this trio with Blackhall chasing and Holly just kind of hovering. If I know Holly, I'm willing to bet he might be saving his stuff. All this talk about the tires, I imagine he's got no interest in trying to get involved in this, and Blackhall gives another touch to Conquer through the 90.
You know, the way Bradley Holly is so good at just following behind somebody lap after lap, I almost wonder, do you think he does that in real life? Like, you know, waiting in line at the grocery store, or, you know, walking through the mall, just like breathing down somebody's neck. Hopefully not right now during the pandemic, but I mean, he's just so good at it. He's got to be practicing those skills in the real world.
Someone turns around in the grocery store, asks him what he's doing. It just says drafting. As they come through the inner loop, and Blackhall struggling a little bit ever since he made that contact. Now Holly has an opportunity if he wants it. This will give us some valuable information to see if the 184 really is just kind of sitting back and waiting patiently, or does he want to try and attack, see if he can get this 4th place away? Not into the penultimate corner, at least. He'll sit in the tire tracks of the 97, maybe down to the 90.
And that's kind of the way the 97 was leaving so much room open there that last lap. It had to be just teasing Bradley. It's like you haven't ate all day and you walk into the house and you can smell a steak cooking. I mean, it's just right there to take. But Bradley with a lot of willpower there to not capitalize until he decides that he's ready.
Which looks to be right now as he gets a better exit, but has to give space as coming back onto the racing line. Blackhall had a moment himself. Side by side through the S's is no mean feat in these stock cars, and it looks like Holly takes his truck up to 4th now. Will the 97 try and fight back? He'll get the slipstream. He shows his nose, but decides against it. Smooth move from the 184.
Yeah, that was just absolutely textbook there. The 97 left a little bit of room, and Bradley capitalized and took the spot with not a lot of effort, which is going to be a huge thing as far as maintaining the tire life on these trucks. The harder you have to work to pass somebody, the more you're going to use up your stuff.
Picked the right moment and jumped on it. So Holly, because he went side by side, lost a little time to conquer, about 1.5 seconds up to that white truck now. It looks like Blackhall wants this position back, but he's going to have to wait as the thing twitches underneath him. So Jake loses some time without a better run down the front straightaway.
Yeah, that truck seems very rear end happy for Blackhall, which, you know, given that it's a fixed setup, you wonder if maybe some of the aerodynamic damage that he's taken in the front end may be upsetting the truck a little bit. I do notice the lower valance on the front bumper is lifted up a little bit. Could be disrupting the downforce in the front end.
Got a side-by-side battle between Calgill and Cervantes for 13th. Wonder if this is going to carry on up through the S's. And Calgill is not as daring as Jake Blackhall. He backs out of it.
Yeah, it takes some guts to run too wide through the S's here. I mean, that is just such a narrow part of the track. I can't even run 1 wide through there, so I wouldn't even imagine wanting to go 2 wide.
Watching from on board him, and lots of tiny little corrections happening through the inner loop, but it seems like he's going to lose touch a little bit to that 25, back by about 3/4 of a second now. It seems that Cervantes, who I believe, did not set a qualifying time, has basically been making his way through, but Cervantes has quite a bit of damage on the back of that 25, so he's been in the wars already.
Hopefully it's just incidental contact, not a sign that he's not going fast enough.
Well, considering how decisively he passed Calgill, I don't think he's lost that much pace. He's up to 13th, having begun this one in 21st. So a 7-position gain already, and we're only on lap 10, nearly a position each lap for him. We still have 30 of the drivers out rolling. Make that 31, actually. We've lost Dalton Geyer and CM Pennington. And did something happen to Hilton here? So we're trying to see what went down here with the 47. So it looks like good run there for a moment, and then couldn't hold on. Almost had a chance on the 82, but Clayton Curry will be able to retain that 18th position. And Adam Shane has disappeared on my timing screen. Ooh, he had a spin in turn 1. Just a solo spin, nudged it into the wall, decided to call it quits. Guess he didn't feel comfortable in the car. Looking back from Bradley Hawley at Jake Blackhall, this battle continues. So they seem to be pretty even on pace, but they are now 2 seconds behind Josh Conker. So it seems like the 54 has been doing a pretty good job now that he's broken the slipstream.
Yeah, this is a great view at just the different ways these guys race this track. You can see the truck behind Blackhall there in the 97, just kind of drifting around, trying to find grip and not running directly in the wake of the 184, but not straying too far away.
You know, just looking at Brad's helmet, it almost looks like he put his shirt on a scanner and just dropped it on his helmet, because I think that is the exact pattern. Let's take a look here. It's pretty darn close. It might be.
If the shirt's lucky, it can't hurt to put it on a helmet too.
Oh, exactly, yeah. I think we have some takers for scheduled stops. Eric Hauk is in the 22. I see a little damage on the back of the truck, but not sure if that's what merited him coming in. We'll keep an eye on that. They should be within the pit window here, I think, now that a third of the race has gone by. Someone to the inside back there, not sure if that was a lap truck or what. Sounds like that was a lapped truck, so that wasn't for position. In the meantime, this is Kalen, Sumner, and LaBaff. Both Kalen and Sumner have been racing, and side by side behind them, Cervantes on LaBaff. That's going to put him in a 12th place. What a charge this has been for the 25, who I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, is also a GT4 driver this season.
Yeah, Cervantes definitely looks like he knows what he's doing out there. Moved up quite a few spots, and doesn't look like he plans on slowing down anytime soon.
His fastest lap right now of 15.1. Compare that to those around him. Thomas Sink is the next one's comparable. He's sitting in 8th place. So there could be many more positions on the cards for this Postal Service truck. As now Sumner is the next one. Man, he ran him down quickly, about half a lap there, outbraking him down into the 90. Sumner doesn't even defend it. He knew that was coming. And Danny Cervantes now up to 11th position. This car is mighty.
And that was just the quintessential Watkins Glen pass going into that first turn. Just absolutely a chef's kiss on that one.
Clayton Curry, our next one to take a scheduled stop. It looks like Eric Haux was not scheduled. He's been in for about 2 minutes, so I assume he is having to repair some damage at this point. Sad to see we've had a few that won't be able to complete every lap of this race. It's 25 next up the road. Kalen is about 1.5 seconds. His last lap was a 17.2. Cervantes, even with those passes, ran a 16.9.
Yeah, the time drop off has actually been pretty severe, a lot stronger than I was expecting.
Yeah, that you have to think, is it a case of everybody try and pit halfway because of the tires going off so fast? Or do you try and maybe go a little longer like we see the sports cars do, where you don't get as much of a help from the undercut? We'll keep an eye on that as we are getting close to the halfway mark here.
Yeah, these laps are clicking off pretty quick. As we look at Abner Acosta here, still out in front. He's led every lap so far, Joe.
He's looking like he might be the first to break the pattern, get 3 in a row. Cloud cover mercifully cooling the track down a little bit recently, but it's still 111 Fahrenheit on the track surface. Acosta's got a gap of about 1.1 seconds, so Rodriguez is keeping him honest. He is the car that you see behind him on track right now. Got the red, white, and black number 29 there. Just within visual distance, making sure that he can't make any slip-ups. Josh Bittner, who was involved in that opening wreck in the inner loop, is going to pull off to the side. Beautifully done. Respecting the blue flags here and letting our leaders continue their battle without interrupting.
Guess we don't need to queue up any Sebastian Vettel rants on blue flags.
So they now head through the inner loop once again. I'm willing to bet that Cervantes is our biggest mover right now. Let's take a look at that. And he's in 11th, tied for it right now. 10 up. Cowgill and Young also making some big moves. And I think Westerfield and Lawrence also doing a good job. And looks like Cowgill made a move into the inner loop, set him up. You know, if we get a replay on this, LaBaff had a big catch in the S's, and that's what slowed him up, gave Patrick the chance to try and get through there. Yeah, you're going to see it here. I think he even brushes the wall lightly. Just missed it there. And then up to the bus stop section, getting awful close between them. He tried to fight it, credit to him, but Cowgill was too much.
Wow, he really almost got back on the exit there for a second, but unfortunately had to give up there.
Let's head back to Blackhall and Holly, because that fourth place battle is still within half a second. Oh, and a truck off to the side. That was Momi. That was the 12 car. Ooh, he just crossed the course in an awkward spot. Thankfully, nobody wrecked, and I think he'll be able to get going. That was, let me figure out who that was that he gave a big scare to. That was Daniel Knight, actually, 6th place driver. So here's the incident. Just went a little wide, spun back across the track. Here comes Daniel Knight. You would think you'd be able to see, but that crest makes it a little bit blind, and now suddenly he can see, has to dive to the inside. Did have to get on the brakes, so that cost him some time, slowed him down a little bit. Last lap, a 17.4, so maybe about 2/10 off his normal racing time that time through. Still waiting for drivers to come in and pit, but I think, yeah, we are at halfway at the end of next lap.
Yeah, poor Daniel Knight there. He got to experience the racing equivalent of a jump scare.
Ooh, had another little pass, and it's another one from Cowgill. Sumner went a little wide through the first corner, and Cowgill sneaks through. He was another one that was unable to qualify due to the EOL, and he is now up to 12th from 24th.
Yeah, Patrick is a man on the move. After another one of those EOL penalties at the start of the race, and hasn't let it slow him down one bit.
Ooh, Colton Lane just came into pit lane after he had a spin going into the final corner. Didn't hit anything, but he is going to blink first and try and mark this at halfway, and Jake Blackhall does likewise. The 97 is in for his scheduled stop.
Yeah, first of our front runners to really give it a shot, so we'll see if the undercut works for Blackhall.
I gotta think that Holly has to respond here, because you were talking about the drop-off. Let's see, as I try and look for Blackhall's lap times. First few laps were in the 1:14s. Last few before he pitted were in the 1:16s. So yeah, I think this is a good call from that 97 truck.
Yeah, I mean, where he was running at towards the front, but not at the front, I think that it's definitely worth a shot to go for it. I mean, it's going to get you a couple seconds per lap up until everybody that was in front of you pits, so it can't hurt at all, as looks like Abner Acosta going to be next in.
He is indeed. Rodriguez will inherit the lead. Conker's going to follow suit, and Holly responds as well. I wonder if that was kicked off by the pit stop of Blackhall, and everybody having to basically respond to it, try and get in there, get fresh tires before they find themselves jumped by him. Acosta all the way down at the front because of his pit stop. That's Blackhall on screen, dealing with traffic, which is the unfortunate downside to pitting early. That's Sumner, who is on old tires, yet to stop. Acosta is back out and rolling with a 14-second pit stop. "15 seconds for Josh Conker." Now, what about Bradley Hawley? Remember, he was racing with Blackhall, and despite the traffic, Blackhall is ahead.
Well, that means it's going to pay off for Blackhall at least a little bit for now.
And you have to think Rodriguez, who is running in second, is going to lose out big time. I wonder if Conker might wind up catching him because of this. Now, Conker's actually in a battle with Cowgill right now because he hasn't pitted. That's the 184 going past another car. I think that was that Rodriguez? No, that wasn't Rodriguez.
Might be Danik Momi. I think they have a pretty similar paint scheme.
Yeah. Even our director was caught out by that a little bit earlier in this broadcast as he comes around out of the inner loop. So Rodriguez now pits. Looks like we just had a stop for Jim Westerfield, who returns to the track. This is Blackhall, the first one to make the call, up to 6th place. Patrick Cowgill should let him through, yes, as he now takes his pit stop, so up to 5th for him. Where is Zemke going to return? Zemke gives him another spot. Blackhall up to 4th, and Conker returns behind Rodriguez, so Esteban was able to avoid getting past, as Hauk was the one that we saw at the side of the road in the 22 in a very scary spot.
Yeah, that's probably one of the worst spots on the track to be sitting the wrong way.
Let's see what happened to him here. Well, just went wide. Tried to get on the power, and the rear tires said, "I don't think we can do that, sir." Just went around and nudged the blue Armco. Oh, there was a wreck with Rodriguez, and it involves Bradley Hawley. Oh no, out of the inner loop. How did this happen? So the 29, oh no, it was Baron Hilton at the side of the track. You're going to see him right there, and just didn't anticipate that he'd be sitting there, and then somebody else was there. That was Thomas Roberts. Wonder if that involves somebody else. This is Holly, who's just a very similar situation before. It was blind. He had a car in front. That was Blackhall. That was Blackhall in front of him that he couldn't see around, and unfortunately, a number of drivers just kind of cascading into one another after Baron Hilton having problems.
Well, it's definitely going to limit our front runners there. Two of the top trucks in the field are now sidelined.
So let's take a look at the battle for 8th place now. Adam Zemke just ahead of Mark Kalin. These two are just about where they began this race. No, yes, actually, 8th and 9th currently, as they started in 10th and 9th. Doesn't look like Cowgill's going to be quite close enough, as the 62 gets on the brakes much later than Zemke and gains a hunk of time.
Yeah, Mark Kalin is not one to be overly generous with his brake pedal.
So a number of those drivers involved in that accident unfortunately had to take a tow into the pits. Rodriguez did, Hawley, and Baron Hilton, as well as, I believe, Thomas Roberts. No, Roberts was not the one involved in that. So 3 of the cars definitely came in because of that one incident. Off of the final corner, Mark Kalin just letting that truck drift out to the outside as he stalks the number 57.
Zemke leaves the door open.
And he's going to step to the inside. Looks like Kalen's got it with ease there. That little mistake just allowing him up into the 8th position. Now, I know I keep harping on that incident, but man, that's had big implications on the championship because both Acosta and Rodriguez were involved, remember. Holly and Rodriguez, rather. And Acosta is leading right now. So he is likely going to be leading the championship after this with this 3rd win if he can bring this one home. So this will make life hard for those behind.
I don't think there's any need to say that you should downplay it, Joe. I mean, this is a tectonic shift in the championship. I mean, this could be the Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Spain moment as far as this championship goes.
Certainly could. So Conquer could pick things up. He's currently sitting in 2nd. I would think that he would overtake Acosta and Rodriguez in the points because of that, because it was relatively close between everybody. We've got 33 starters here today, so you finish down towards the bottom, you're not getting a whole lot.
And of course, all the other championship contenders are running still right towards the front of the field, so just a little insult to injury there as we see Kalen work around the lap truck of Bittner.
Yeah, next up the road for Kalen is Cervantes, who he's been chasing through the field, but he's about 1.7 seconds behind. Man, Danny, I said it before, starting from 21st is now up to 7th place, so 14 spots for that number 25. Broke up some of our good battles, that one incident. This isn't too long of a lap, so a lot of the drivers have actually gone a lap down already. We only have 14 left since there are no full course cautions and the road races here for the PRL.
And not to mention, Abner Acosta's no slouch, so he's been flicking off some pretty fast laps.
Yeah, he holds that fastest lap currently at a 13.8. In fact, I want to say that's a full 0.3 faster than any other driver has done so far today. Yeah, Josh Conquer is the next closest with a 14.1. Trying to find Holly in them to see what they were able to do. No, I take that back. Rodriguez, a 13.943. So Rodriguez has come close, but he's still about a 10th off of the best lap that Acosta could do, which will mean, I believe that's a bonus point for Abner. Yeah, fastest lap is worth 1 bonus. He got the pole, 2 bonus points right there. Probably most laps led. In fact, I think we can say that he's got that most laps led nailed down at this point, so that's a bonus. And leading a lap is a bonus. So he's taken all 5 bonus points here today. This is going to be a perfect score for Abner Acosta.
Yeah, if Acosta comes through and wins the championship, I think we can look at this race as really the one that's going to define his season.
Now, LaBeouf had some fun with Cowgill earlier, but he's now on his rear guard once again. Charles Sumner, who he went through a little earlier, is trying to come back at him. Look around the outside, down into the 90. Could he get the over-under potentially? It's better grip for him in that orange and green 98. He gets the good exit, but there's nowhere to go in the S's. Behind them, Elliott White also picking up positions. He was not allowed to qualify, started from 20th. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Elliott White, not only that, Joe, caught up in that first lap wreck, so running 13th, still on the lead lap, but he's obviously had his struggles today, but really a pretty good comeback given everything he's been through.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that he was part of that opening lap wreck. So he'll probably want to forget today just because it was such a struggle for him. But LaBeouf has responded emphatically. Sumner, while he was close behind at the start of the lap, at the end of the lap, he's all the way down by 7/10 to that 911 machine.
Yeah, at this point in the race, that's a decent margin to try to make up.
He's going to have to be clean. We've already seen how tough it is to try and drive these things on a road course, though. And down through, oh, and there's a good example right there as Sumner lights him up on the exit right when he wants to be as quick as possible coming up the hill. Instead, I'm starting to think that Charles Sumner is going to have to look in his mirrors instead of through his windshield, because here comes Elliott White.
Yeah, Elliott White is closing fast. He thought maybe he could potentially have a look here at the bus stop, but if he doesn't there, then I think a move is imminent, barring any mistakes.
Key words there, barring any mistakes. Elliott White has to try and keep it tidy. Out through the outer loop. And then putting the throttle down, the magenta and black number 27. Now within 0.4 of a second of Sumner. Sumner closes in on LaBaff down to 0.5 of a second. It's all accordioning together between this trio. Ooh, way wide there on the exit of the final corner for the 98, unfortunately.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought he was heading into the barrier.
He's very good on the brakes down to the 90, though. Regains some of that time to LaBaff. Too good on the brakes. He goes wide. Once again, a slip up off the corner, and Elliott White thinks about it, then has to slot back in behind him. This is looking good. He could get a shot, and he's got a great exit out of the S's. Sumner lifts. He's not willing to fight that. He knows that White is a quick driver. And to give you an idea, remember, this is their road licenses. Elliott White actually has a 6K iRating. He might be the highest here.
Yeah, so he's probably all right at the road courses.
Abner Acosta, the next one down at 5K, 5,400 for those wanting a little bit more accurate number. Abner Acosta showing them how it's done out here, which we all kind of expected. In fact, I believe one of his other wins in the truck series was at Circuit of the Americas last season.
You know, Joe, just a little note about this track as we come past the front straightaway. If you notice those grandstands that they're driving past look familiar, those are actually the same grandstands at Watkins Glen that were originally on the front straightaway at the Nazareth Speedway before NASCAR shut it down.
I feel like I had heard that once before, and I believe they took some of Michigan's stands and have them here now too, don't they?
I believe so, and actually there's a Michigan downsizing was probably one of the best things to happen to short track racing in the state of Michigan. I can think of 5 tracks off the top of my head that make use of sections of the grandstands from Michigan.
Every part of the Buffalo, my friend, as we watch the 5 work his way through and use every part of the track in the inner loop. It's now up to 10.7 seconds to the next car in Josh Conker. LaBaff suddenly no longer worries about Sumner. He worries about Elliott White. He got up to 12th. He's going to be trying to take 11th away, but it'll be a lot of room up to Patrick Cowgill to crack into the top 10. He looks down to the inside. LaBaff almost half-heartedly covers. Or is he trying to get through Bittner? But it forces Elliott White to back off, whatever the case. In fact, that backing off seems to have helped him mightily as he nearly overtakes him on the exit. Last time he did this, though, he got a fantastic run. He gets right up underneath that rear spoiler of the 911, and the run isn't quite as good.
He's going to follow in the wake down this straightaway, heading towards the bus stop. Look for him to maybe poke the nose out. No, not quite close enough, but he is staying within contact distance. We could see a move here on the exit, or at least setting him up for one.
He doesn't want to take too long, stuck behind this yellow truck. He wants to try and overtake so that he can chop down on that gap to Cowgill as quick as he can, which is already up to 7 seconds, by the way. So it's a second larger than the last time across the line, and we're down to 8 laps to go. In fact, these drivers had just realized, whoa, and a big moment there for John LeBaff, 2 wheels into the grass, and yet it's so narrow through there that Elliott White has to wait until afterwards to finally get through. And there goes the 27 down into the 90. He's got to get a good exit here to keep John LeBaff from fighting back, which he does, as in the background, way off the racing line, Charles Sumner didn't even get close to that apex. I was about to say that they were some of the last ones on the lead lap. Acosta is only back by about a few seconds now, and somebody's blown an engine. That's Nick Hunter. Second time this evening. I would guess that that's related then for poor Nick.
Yeah, there's only so much engine repair you can do on pit lane.
And eventually it expired, which means he's another one that's not going to have very good points. I almost wonder, did we get Bradley Holly back out there? No, Bradley Holly's not back out there. Did he make it through half the lap or half the race? Yes, he did. So they do have to finish 50% if they want to score points in this race. So I think the drivers that won't score today, CM Pennington, Dalton Geyer, and Adam Shane. Momi is a maybe on that one. Costa's been running some impressive times just down into the 116s, but everything before this, after his pit stop, was 114s and 115. Some of that could have been the traffic that we just saw him running through. He's so far ahead, even in that wide shot back down through the S's, you did not see Conquer in that one. It's 11.4 seconds to this man, the 54. Just now working his way up that hill. Oh, but he just hit the wall. Just went wide, coming up through the S's. Let's take a look and see what caused that.
Yeah, we mentioned at this part of the track, the Armco barriers are right there on the edge. Follow along with Josh here. Heading through, hits his apex, and just, you could see a little bit of a saw on the wheel right before he got into it. Just lost his, lost the focus there, lost the handle a little bit, and into the barriers he went.
I wonder if this will mean that Blackhall could catch up to him. How much damage did he get from that touch? You can see him in the background. The 97 is only 2.5 seconds back.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jake Blackhall needed. It's definitely going to perk him up. You know, you get to that point of the race where you think you're going to finish where you're at. You see something like that up in front of you, and it brings you back to life. And we could see Blackhall really rip off some fast laps here as he tries to take advantage of that mistake.
1.2 seconds faster that lap, but Blackhall might be overdriving it himself, as you saw him go out to the grass for a second. Managed to hold the truck together. He's got to keep those down if he wants to close in these last 5 laps, and he's got to be absolutely perfect. As for the battle between White and Cowgill, by the way, for 10th place, Elliott White still down by 7 seconds. Don't think he's got enough pace over the 31 to be able to get into that top 10, but it was a valiant effort from the 27 today.
Yeah, Elliott White has fought through just about everything that you could think of today, and came back for a solid finish, and definitely deserves an attaboy for that.
I agree. Definitely has impressed me. He could have had a lot more, I think, if he didn't have to both fight from the back in the qualifying and deal with a spin that cost him any positions he may have gotten there at the beginning of this event. Last time by for Conquer, and second was a 16.0. Blackhall tied him down to nearly 0.02 of a second. That is darn close on pace.
Yeah, legitimately does not get that much closer.
On an oval, that would be a pretty regular occurrence, but here on a road course, that is just minute differences between them over the course of a lap. Half a tenth just separating them. And we watch that 97 out through the outer loop once again. He's got a huge gap back to the car behind him. Daniel Knight in the 17 as 18 seconds behind. So this podium, unless one of them has a wreck, is pretty much decided. It's just a question of whether or not Conker can keep Blackhall from running him down, which is starting to look like Jake's got the bit between his teeth. He's cut it down to 1.8 seconds now as they go by yet more lap traffic. Josh Conker, a 16.5, Blackhall to a 16.2, 0.3 of a second gain. You see him just weaving back and forth, trying to catch that car coming off of the 90. He's clearly got some good pace, just not sure if it's gonna be enough. 3 laps to go with just under 2 seconds between them. 3 more tenths each lap won't be enough. That'll give him about a second. So he's got to start really cracking the whip. As Adam Zemke has got a good battle for one of the last spots on the lead lap with Mark Kalin now in the 8th position. So the 62 is under threat. Zemke started from 10th, sits in 9th spot. Kalin started from 9th and is in 8th. Both of them up a position from the start. It still should be a good points haul day for them. Down to 2 laps to go now.
You know, there is, with Bradley Holly and Esteban having their issues, it's really a chance for a lot of drivers that don't get to run up towards the front to kind of capitalize. I mean, maybe not to say that they're not good, but some drivers just get an opportunity to be highlighted a little bit more.
Definitely. So Cervantes could have one more on the line for him. He made it all the way up to 7th from that 21st spot, and he is sizing up 6th with Thomas Sink in front of him. And Sink is not too far up the road on points as well. So this could be an important moment for him to try and overtake here. Up through the S's, all the way up to that curb on the right-hand side within 0.3 of a second as we get the white flag for Abner Acosta, who just crossed the start-finish line.
And just Cervantes just following in Thomas Sink's tracks there, Joe. He has really ran a great race. Oh, the back end stepped out on him a little bit.
Oh, Blackhall's got it down to 1 second now, but they're on the final lap. Last lap, a 16.8 for Josh. Jake with a 16.1. That's the increase that he needed, but it could be too little too late here. Even at 8 more tenths of a second, by the time he gets to the line, Conker will have taken that second place and the race will be over. As we ride on board, this could be a place of good gains. Doesn't look like it's much, though, down through the inner loop. In the meantime, we've got to head over to Abner Acosta, the first driver to reach 3 wins this season, and it happens on a road course for Abner. I'm willing to bet everybody pretty much predicted this one if they were placing bets, as Abner Acosta wins at Watkins Glen. Josh Conker up next, 0.8 of a second back to Blackhall. Had some help with drivers in front of him wrecking, but the 54 will get a P2 as Blackhall also jumps up 1 spot to finish on the podium. Got one more battle happening behind on that lead lap. Kalin and Zemke separated by 0.8 of a second. Zemke behind in the white truck at Mark Kalin in the purple machine. It's very tough to pass from here on out, so doubt we'll be seeing an overtake unless we get a mistake out of that 62 truck. Just like that, as it bobbles, and in front of them, someone is off course. That's Colton Lane. That's a lap down truck. That's not for position, but it will compromise Kalin. But he holds it together and somehow gets that 8th spot just ahead of Zemke. That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Round 7 in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series went to Abner Acosta, and he's become the first driver to get 3 wins this season, and in fact, also three-peated. Josh Conker was behind him by a distant 16 seconds and narrowly ahead of Jake Blackhall at the end, who rounded out the podium. Daniel Knight was P4 as Doug Evans took a quiet top 5. Thomas Sink was 6th as Cervantes, being sent to the end of the qualifiers there, started from 21st and wound up 7th. He was so close to passing Sink at the end of the race. Kalin was 8th with Zemke 9th, and Patrick Calgill took a top 10.
Sitting just outside of the top 10 was Elliott White, who had an adventurous race. He was the last truck on the lead lap. John LaBaff, Charles Sumner, Jim Westerfield, Doyle Lawrence, and Colton Lane all 1 lap down, with Adam Young, Josh Bittner, Stacy Hunter, and Clayton Curry 2 laps down, closing out your top 20.
21st went to Traver with Austin Hunter in 22nd, and Baron Hilton got back out on track to try and finish, but was way down in 23rd. Hauk 24th, and Nick Hunter and 25th at DNF today. Everybody behind that, unfortunately, also unable to finish. But Josh Conker did manage to get a P2, and while he will lose some points on Bradley Holly, he's going to gain, we have Abner Costa with us here, our winner here today. And Abner, there was some talk before the race on who was going to be able to win on the road course. With everybody else stuck on 2 wins, did you feel pretty good coming in that you're going to be the first to finally make a three-peat?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be fast for sure. But definitely I knew it was gonna be between Esteban, he's been really fast, Bradley and Josh and I. So I knew it was gonna be a tough race, and it was. I guess I got also really lucky that they got involved in wrecks. I guess I have to look at the replay to see what happened, but I think if they wouldn't have crashed, it would have been close at the end for sure. But yeah, I knew I was going to be strong overall.
Now, we saw you come in a lap after the first driver that pitted. I think that was Blackhall, was the first one to blink on that one. Was that a pre-scheduled lap that you came in on? You knew you wanted to pit at that time, or was that in response to try and avoid the undercut?
Yeah, it was definitely in response to avoid the undercut. Since the gap to Esteban wasn't really that big, I think it was like 1.2 or something. And I knew if he pitted first, he would probably come out ahead, depending on how things played out. So in order to avoid that, yeah, I pitted first. And I think I gained a second off it, which basically everything worked out to just how we planned it. I was able to get that win.
I think if I'm looking at things correctly, you are going to be ahead of Bradley Holly after this round in the point standings. So are you thinking championship at all? Are you trying to just put that out of your mind?
Oh, no, I'm definitely thinking championship after, the crazy win at the super speedway. I did not expect that. And then looking at the points, I think I was like 20 points off or something. And then I won at the next track, and all of a sudden I'm leading. So it's pretty crazy. I was obviously expecting just to get closer and closer. That way, for the last race, it's anybody's game. But I guess I'm leading. I guess that's really good, yeah.
It's probably got to feel good. But before you take off, who would you like to thank that made this win possible?
I want to thank everybody, Private Label Team Hype, and the team, Josh, for always, I know he was there battling with Esteban, helped me a little bit, Tommy, and Ty, calling out strategies with the sharp pit and all that. So, and our sponsors, Tomahawk, Neonism, Private Level, Ethica, and GSRC for broadcasting, and PRL for hosting the league. Thank you.
That was Abner Costa, your victor here today in round 7. Now we have Josh Conker with us as Chris has caught up with our P2 finisher.
Well, Josh, a pretty solid race. You got into the barriers a little bit there towards the end. That throw you off your game a little bit. Maybe give you a little more pep in your step there in the closing stages.
Yeah, for sure. The track was definitely a little more of a handful tonight. On the long run, just with the way the tires faded off, and I was getting rather close to my incident limit before a penalty. I don't know how, but I was. So I was trying to take it easy, and then I took it too easy, and in turn started making a few mistakes there. Just trying to preserve the truck and bring it home without having to make a stop and go, I believe is what the penalty was. But yeah, all in all, very good race, another good one too for the team.
Now, how does that throw off your game when you're trying to rein things in and avoid the incident limit? Is it harder to slow down and kind of keep your eyes focused on that than it is to just race the truck the way you naturally do?
Yeah, for sure. It's when you're used to pushing the truck and trying to extract as much lap time out of it as you can without overdoing the tires. Well, you kind of get in a rhythm and a flow. And then once you have to kind of back off a bit and like you upset your rhythm and flow, it always takes a few laps to kind of work your way back into it. It's all about the flow, the consistency, and when you're not being consistent, then you're all over the place. You start making mistakes as per the right side of my truck. But Yeah, it's a little more difficult than you'd think, just trying to like bring it back. But the best drivers can do it without making mistakes.
Well, Josh, definitely one of the best in the series, so no shame in that at all. Is there anyone you'd like to thank that helped make your race possible?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone at Private Label Team Hype, Ty Stover, Tommy Milner, for their expertise tonight. It was very, very useful. So thank you to both of them. I'd like to thank all our teammates. James O'Brien, Richard Regan, Brandon Walter, Sheldon Atkins. I'd like to congratulate Abner on his win. That's 3 straight, I believe, for the guy. So he's doing really, really well. I'd like to thank all the team sponsors: Private Label, Ethica, Neonism Paint. I'd like to thank my personal ones as well: Lone Palm Design and Fuse Graphics.
Well, thanks for joining us, Josh, and back to you, Joe.
Now that's going to bring us to our 6th place finisher, Thomas Sink. And he started from the 7th position, came up 1. But Thomas, it looked a little lonely from what I can see of your race. We didn't get to cover your lot. You saw a few battles, but otherwise was this just kind of putting the laps in like it was a test session for you?
Pretty much. Felt like practice. You're just going out, hitting your marks, hitting your reps, trying to avoid these lap cars.
How much experience do you have here on the roadside? Is this something you feel pretty comfortable with, or is it still kind of foreign to you?
I got quite a bit experience on road. It's just I'm not very good at it. I've always struggled at road courses. I don't understand it. I can't get forward bite. I'm just not very good at road courses. I would say, the intermediate tracks are more my forte.
That's totally understandable. Even still, you should be pleased considering the company you were with, finishing in 6th out there today. Heading off next week, we do get back to a traditional, smaller-ish track with the Nashville Fairgrounds. So looking forward to that?
Yeah, I like the ovals better. It's a little bit one of the more reasons I joined PRL is for the oval side. Should run decent. I mean, my goal is always to run top 10, and if I can run top 10, I'll be pretty humble about that.
Great stuff. Well, again, congratulations on a top 10 today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for everything you guys do.
Now I'm going to turn the microphone upside down so that Chris can talk to Jake Blackhall.
Well, Jake, long distance hello to you. Great run for you today. When you saw the 54 get into the barrier up ahead of you, seemed like you really turned up the wick a little bit, started to run them down. Can you tell us about that moment?
Yeah, long hello to all of you. Yeah, it was interesting. It was one of those races to forget, really. We had a lot of pace in the truck, and I just didn't really extract it when I needed to. A little bit of lap traffic didn't really help with that as well. But yeah, as soon as I seen Conker sort of running out of tyres towards the end, it was like, okay, now I know I've got tyres in reserve. Let's see if we can push and catch him. But just ran out at the end. Needed maybe 1 or 2 more laps to put the heat on a little bit more. But good result for Pure Sims. Good to come out with the 3rd straight top 5. So we'll try and keep that momentum going.
Now, Jake, we head to a vastly different track next week as we go from the road course to the tight confines of the Nashville Fairgrounds. What are your feelings on that course?
Interesting. I've done a couple of races there. Usually ends up being very close. A lot of pushing and shoving, obviously, because it's such a tight track. So, going to be one of those ones where it's just survive the melee and try and keep the truck clean, and then see where we end up. Really, I think it's all going to be about just avoiding any damage early on.
All right, Jake, who would you like to thank to help make today possible for you?
Obviously, I'd like to thank you guys for doing an amazing job on the broadcast, as always. Also, Precision Racing League and all their sponsors as well. I don't know their list of sponsors, but for putting on an awesome league and allowing for me to actually come and do this, especially in Aussie time zone. Pure Sims for all their help, 3M UK, Craig Setup Shop, and SimLab for all their support. And
for those of us that can't quite do time zones, just let us know what time is it over there right now.
So it is currently 12:13 in the middle of the day, so it's not too bad. It's better than when I have to do all the UK stuff with Pure Sims, because that's usually 3-4 in the morning. So to end up doing it now at sort of middle of the day, it's actually quite nice to do the races this time.
All right, well, enjoy yourself a nice lunch break, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy.
That was Jake Blackhall, last on the podium today, but a very good race out there. And that's going to bring us to a close with a big thank you to our sponsors, which includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at SimRacing.com. And RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Sean, and Dougie. You can find out more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. If you don't want to type that in, we have a link in the description below for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel while you check that out. And next time, we go to Nashville, not the Super Speedway, to the Nashville Fairgrounds. That'll be August 11th, rather, at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.